Well, all right, I see everybody's here. How was your night? What'd y'all think of that video? You like that? Got a few thumbs up in the chat. All right. Y'all ready to start this new unit today? So when we think of the Industrial Revolution, we tend to think of this major, massive event that happened. It's not like that. It's more like a bunch of events that snowballed, like little minor things that became major things over a long period of time. And there's also some economic theories that came up around them. Our primary objective today is to give an overview of the Industrial Revolution and the modern economic systems that rose up around it. We're also going to talk about political and social changes, some economic changes, some causals and effects of that, how the family changed, how kids were impacted, Adam Smith, Karl Marx, all the fun stuff. All the fun stuff you hear tossed around these days in the modern political cycle that we're in. Right? So let's dive right in. I've got about 10 minutes to go over this with you because I want to get you guys working as soon as possible. There's some things that lead up to the Industrial Revolution. Before that, we're in an agrarian economy. What does that mean? About 5 of you coming up. Yep. Okay. Exactly. We all worked on a farm. Life expectancy is not very long. And some people worked collaboratively to try to make life happen. But as a whole, it just wasn't that great. And then we see things start to shift with the enclosure movement. You can actually fence your land, work your land. Your family reaps the benefits of that. And because of that, we have more food. We have increased production. We have lower food prices. We need less farmers as a whole. And because we have more food, we end up seeing a correlation between that and better health care. And guess what? The population goes boom. Between 1400 and 1800, it just grows exponentially. And so people have to start looking for new ways to deal with stuff, specifically energy. Ooh, that sounds familiar, don't it? We start looking at new fuels. We discover that we get fuels from fossils of all things, hence the name fossil fuels. How about that? Right? Didn't find a battery for a little bit longer. Good one. Thanks for that, Elijah. And you see a lot of this happen around Europe. Why is that? It's got a lot of competitive nations. There isn't a whole lot of economic structure, continentally speaking. We have that mercantile system, the colonies. Thank you, Garen. I see you threw that in there. Exactly. And so Europe has the biggest global influence. So that's really why Europe in general and Great Britain specifically. Why is that? People have money to invest in industry. They probably have some family land near rivers. Yeah, and they're probably using their land to build factories. And also, the government is all too eager to help them. So they want to keep foreign stuff out. They want their people making their products. And Great Britain had a great relationship with the people that made all this happen. And there's no violent political revolutions either. And so the factory system, you have the what's called textile machines, the cotton gin, the steam engine, all these things, and you're going to actually be researching some of these and how they played into some of the nice things that we see coming up, like these shirts. Started out with cotton shirts. That was kind of new. That was kind of nice, actually. You're going to see the factory system become the organized system of production. There's actually going to be a little bit of research you guys are going to do on that here in a bit. It leads to something called factory culture. I want everyone to look at that real quick. How would you describe that? Unpleasant? As opposed to what? Working on a farm? Maybe. But these are rather crude drawings of what some people may have experienced. For some it was great, for some it was not. What's the correlation between these green dots and the cities? These are major economic centers. They later become political capitals. So one of the big changes that happens in the Industrial Revolution, you see the middle class come up. I'm not going to break these down one by one because, again, this is going to be part of your research that you're going to do. You're going to look up some stuff online. This is just to kind of get you started. But all those good things that we see talked about, these are not inherently things that we would all be opposed to. Social reforms, you hear a lot about social reforms. The middle class made that happen. You could summarize it like this. They became the working professional. Desk jobs. Hello, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm a working professional. I might be middle class. In fact, I am middle class. My job was created during this time, the working professional. You also see women and children affected very differently depending on what class they're in. Middle class women and children tended to do very well. But there's the other side of that. There's the working class, grew exponentially. Because you got to remember, you have the top 1%, which is the aristocrats. You have the middle class, which kind of took a big chunk out of the aristocrats. And then you have the working class. A lot of kids put to work in factories. They could get their arms chopped off. Some women make money and enjoy independence. Others have to raise families in these horrible, crowded, squalid apartments. Or their whole families may go to work in the factory for a penny a day. I'm serious. That's where minimum wage will later come from. Very dangerous, very disease prone. So why would the wealthier classes decline in power as time went on? The middle class took a chunk out of their buying power and influence. Exactly. And then you have more poor working class people than you do aristocrats. So yes, you have a return on the investment, but you have less upward social mobility. I might be poor. Very unlikely is it that I will become rich. Unless your name's Oliver Twist. Dickens reference. You got it. Very good, Sarah. Very good. And you see this take place in the form of capitalism. Capitalism is the industrialist's best friend because it calls for private ownership. Means of production is owned by one or two investors or a group of investors. But the focus is on personal responsibility. If you make it, it's because you did it. Supply and demand. If there is a demand for something, fill it. If there is not, and if there's a great demand and there's a good supply, lower those prices. If there's a great demand, but the supply has decreased, those prices are probably going to go up a little bit. However, if everybody wants it, you can also increase the prices. But if people don't want it, you're stuck with stuff you might need to get rid of. So yeah, capitalism often gets a bad rap for unevenly distributing wealth. You hear a lot of people talk about redistributing wealth. That is a classic anti-capitalistic argument. Adam Smith is its chief spokesperson. He writes this book called The Wealth of Nations and says self-interest brings the greatest benefit to society. Now, he means something very different. We're going to talk about that a different day. He is a big advocate for free markets. You have the juxtaposition of that, which is socialism. Capitalism gives rise to the class system. Capitalism creates a relationship of a symbiotic relationship between the government and its investors. Socialism does away with all that. No classes. Evolution of society, evolution of the government. The government still runs society, but there isn't that symbiotic relationship. Any institution that divides is totally gotten rid of. Everything is done for the profit of everybody. I don't make the profit, you don't make the profit, we make the profit. Now, the kissing cousin of socialism and the more extreme version is communism. Communism, there's no classes, there's no ownership, there's no government. It's all gone. The government, the haves, the have-nots, they are what's wrong with society. Therefore, they need to be pushed out the way and gotten rid of. And the working class keeps growing. The working class should be the focus. So the working class is going to have a violent revolution which gets rid of the government, which does away with all the classes. Again, no institutions of any kind that cause division. It got very popular. Capitalism appealed to very rich people. Socialism often appealed to your more middle class people. Communism often was very preyed on your poor people because to each class, it all sounds very attractive. That's just the bottom line. And it's understandable. And so what I need you guys to do right now is for the next 10 minutes, I need you guys to do this. I want to know that you guys can put your information in the right order. You have my notes. I don't make you guys take notes. We know from science and good pedagogy that doesn't do anything, right? Got my fans in the chat box. Back at you, bud. So go through these notes. Go through the information. I want you guys to categorize it. You're going to do a cause and effect of the Industrial Revolution. You're also going to categorize key points for each of the economic theories. And then our capstone project, so to speak, your deliverable is going, I need to back up. These first two are going to be done in class kick. It's set up. You know where all our assignments are at. The assignments are set up, and you go click the link. You're going to be in your breakout rooms. You're going to work collaboratively with your folks on these first two things. And then whenever we come back and we review these in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk about it. I will be able to see your work on my end through ClassKick, because ClassKick's kind of like one of those live editing worksheets type deals. We're going to go through that. We're going to make sure you got everything correct, and then you're going to have to apply what you know. So our big project for today, you're going to create a flyer with your group collaboratively. It's going to be a factory, a new invention, or an economic or industrial reform group. You're going to take what you get from the notes, take what you did with your categorization. You're going to turn that into a flyer that appeals to someone. You might be a working class revolutionary trying to convince a middle class person. You might be a middle class person advocating for reform on behalf of the working class. You might be a rich person, say, hey, come to work at my factory. My name's Jean Valjean, and I'm going to give you benefits, and I'm going to help you with your medical expenses. Les Miserables reference. 5 points for you. Good job, good job, good job. You got that one. Regardless of what your group does, what I need you guys to do is I need you to make sure you're using those rhetorical strategies that you're learning about in your English 2 class right now. I want you guys to be using ethos, pathos, and logos. You need to show a correct knowledge and application of said knowledge. You know how to use the knowledge, you know how to apply it. What we got during this overview. This is an overview. It's a very broad brush. We're going to dive into the little stripes that brush leaves behind in the coming days. But right now, this is just an overview to get us started. What am I wanting on this? So you need to have a graphic. Obviously, you always got to have a graphic. There's always got to be some type of visual representation here. I also want you to have a caption. You create the caption. Do not plagiarize this caption. I will dock you points so bad on that if you do. I want you guys to make a caption that's historically correct. It connects with the time period. If it's in 1775, it needs to connect with 1775. If it's in the 1800s, it needs to connect with the 1800s. We study large swaths of history in Texas. That's how we do, right? My scoring system goes from 1 to 5. If you get a 1, you probably didn't do a whole lot, right? Exactly, right? If you do a 3, you did the bare minimum. Yeah, there's a graphic. It shows that you know, but you didn't really apply the knowledge. It's like if I just say, come to work at this factory. Okay. Factory system was in full swing. I know that. But how do I apply that? What's the intrinsic motivation for me to go to work at that factory? That's where you start getting into that 4 and that 5 territory. A big difference is also the caption. Does it make a strong connection with whatever time period you are in? Okay, so for the pre-work, the stations, we're going to have about 10 minutes. It really shouldn't, I don't know that it will take you guys quite that long. We'll go 15 if we need to. And then you'll have the rest of the class period to make that flyer, and I'm expecting great things. All right, hop to it. I'm looking forward to it.